My thanks to Representative Rodney Hall from DeSoto County joining us just a little while ago. And we go from DeSoto County to Lee County, Tupelo in particular, where we are joined by the mayor of the city of Tupelo, Todd Jordan. Mr. Mayor, good morning to you.
Morning, Richard. Appreciate you having me on.
You know, no mayor's office in Tupelo could be complete without a picture of Elvis immediately over his left shoulder. So you've got it knocked out, and you're doing the right things.
Well, I had a friend of mine, a friend of our family, did this painting behind us, and that was one thing she gifted me when I got in office was a couple of prints of Elvis. And hey, you have to display that, right?
I asked Representative Rodney Hall a little while ago. He's still relatively new in office in the State House, and I said, "What's different about what you're doing than you thought it was going to be before you moved into that role?" So I'll kind of rephrase it, but same for you. Working in this role as mayor, overseeing an incredibly vibrant city like Tupelo that's got so much going on, how is it different sitting at your desk, walking in your shoes as mayor than maybe you thought it was going to be before you became mayor?
Well, I was county supervisor before, so I had a little bit of government experience, legislative experience, but we did not deal with the number of employees that the city of Tupelo does. I mean, we have around 600 full-time, part-time employees, and I think managing your department heads, managing employees, that's one thing that could be a little overwhelming, I think, if you're not used to that type of environment.
They're all different kinds of shapes and sizes to cities in the state of Mississippi, and they all come with their own sets of challenges at the local level. I would assume that one of the things that you are managing is growth, whether it's economic growth or population growth or business growth. Talk to me about growth in particular in Tupelo and what that looks like on a day-to-day basis.
Well, and we're a little different, Richard. Where we are, our population is about 38,000. Our daytime population is over 130,000. We have North Mississippi Medical Center, which employs about 9,000 people. We have Goodyear Tire. We have all these factories that people come in to work. On the weekend, obviously, if you've ever been to the Barnes Crossing area on the weekend, most time people get up and say on Facebook, don't go to the mall area because it's so crowded. Well, that's when you want to go. You want to see, the tags that are there, where they're coming from. So, the economic growth is unbelievable. It's something that you want, but it does put a strain on your infrastructure during the daytime, and then obviously your emergency services. Our police and fire during the day, they're very busy, and rightfully so with that many people coming in. But, it's a good thing. I mean, you just manage it and you welcome it. And, if we didn't have those tax dollars, we couldn't do the things that we need to do for those economic developers to come in and invest here.
You mentioned Barnes Crossing. That's something that has very much been in the news as of late. I feel like kids all over North Mississippi, I say kids, people that are my age who grew up in the late 80s, early 90s in the northern part or northeastern part of the state of Mississippi all have an affinity for the mall at Barnes Crossing to some degree or another, whether it was the carousel or the food court, or that was where the big shopping trip was before school started back, or that's where you went Christmas shopping. It's just been a big and successful mall for a really long time. And then we had the recent news about the foreclosure and the changing of hands. And I guess you and others in Tupelo had some fires to put out in terms of information about what this meant going forward and what that was going to look like for just the everyday shopper that comes in.
Yeah, and when you think about foreclosure, what is the first thing you think of? Well, it's getting shut down. Well, that's kind of a little different in your commercial development. There were two owners of the mall. One of the minority owners died last year, so we knew at that point there was going to be some uncertainty with the mall. It appears that the majority owner was sending a lot of their better retailers to the bigger markets, and rightfully so. You make more money, so there was kind of a standstill on, the future of the mall, but it looks like that, the mall has been bought by the majority owner lending company, and I believe that's a good thing, and I believe there's, brighter things ahead for the mall. I mean, there were over 3 million people last year that visited the mall at Barnes Crossing. That's still a big number. They're pulling in record sales tax every year, so people still go to the mall. Now, does it need a facelift? Absolutely. A lot of people, right now want to go to the outdoor type malls where you can enter from the parking lot instead of going in. But we need the mall to succeed. In 1992, it was a great thing. Of course, a lot of people thought, what in the world are they doing putting them all up here? There's nothing else up here. Us up here is agricultural fields, and it's been very successful. And then things have grown around it, so now you're getting kind of congested, if you could say. And now, obviously, with the Target coming in, it's going to get more congested. But just so many places you can put in a small area.
It really is more of a commercial real estate conversation than anything else. But you think about malls kind of writ large across the country, and they are a dying breed. They're not like they used to be. That was the economic hub of a lot of cities. And in so many places, they've gone into disrepair and they've rotted, and you end up with empty space and you don't know exactly what to do with it. It doesn't feel to me, this is outside looking in, you tell me if I'm wrong here, it doesn't feel to me like that's an option for Tupelo because of what you just said, because of everything that has grown around it, with the mall itself kind of being like the hub of this wheel that's got spokes going in every direction.
That's right. And, most of the time when a mall fails, it's because everything around it fails. Downtown Tupelo in the late 70s, early 80s, the mall here died because downtown Tupelo was dying. Well, when they built the arena in the old mall, then the downtown Tupelo started revitalizing. And if you look what has happened in the last 25 years in downtown Tupelo, with everything growing and an arena instead of a mall, it's incredible, the transformation. But I believe that people will invest in the mall because of what is going around it. And like I said earlier, Target is just the first piece of across the street from the mall. It's everything that Target brings to the area, and the more people. And, when I talk to restaurants around town or downtown, and I say, look, I think there's another restaurant coming in, they say, I don't care. We need more people in a certain area. It will help our business. And I believe that's what will happen still with the mall area.
Well, and I mean, it's two distinct areas, but two distinct areas that are so important to Tupelo. And that downtown area that you mentioned a second ago, Main Street, Fair Park, the growth that has happened there. And I don't know, I'm going to say over the last 15 years, certainly the last decade, kind of the reinvestment in the Main Street downtown part of Tupelo has just been incredible. And if I heard you right, you kind of credited the arena for maybe beginning that renaissance for downtown. Is that right?
That's right. And, City Hall was built in 2002. The Fair Park revitalization is only about 22, 23 years old. And look what it's become. It was an old fairground, which had died out, needed to be done, something done to help Tupelo and downtown Tupelo, because I used to work for a real estate office, and Tommy Morgan was my boss. Well, Tommy invested in his office in Fair Park, and I asked him, I said, Tommy, why did you invest in Fair Park? Why the mall area is one booming? He said, because in 50 years, downtown Tupelo will still be downtown Tupelo, and we don't know what other areas of the city will be. So you make that investment. He's made more investments along with some other developers. And, we're excited because we have acquired 17 more acres just south of Fair Park that we will continue to develop over the next 4 or 5 years.
You got time to hang with me for one more segment?
Absolutely.
Todd Jordan, Mayor of Tupelo. We'll talk a little bit more about that particular parcel and what those development plans may look like, and then where Tupelo and maybe Lee County to a larger extent fall into the economic development projects we're seeing at the state level? Is this an area that is ripe for more growth in the way that some other parts of the state have landed some big projects? That's coming up on the other side of this break. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi. You can join us on the C Spire text line at 601-879-4395. C Spire, inspired by you. We're back right after this. Lance going deep cuts this morning. We've said Country Music Wednesdays, and now he is digging deep, deep, deep into the archives. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi. Thanks for joining us. Todd Jordan is my guest, mayor of Tupelo, Mississippi. I thought I was interrupted. It sounded like you were trying to jump in there with something on the music from Lance.
No, my wife says every time we listen that y'all have the best intros of anybody ever. I mean, it's wonderful.
Hey, thank you, sir. Tell your wife she has great taste.
I always do, because I like it too.
There you go. There you go. I get zero credit for that. That is all. Other than the occasional, I call up the request line and like, hey, could we work this in? I got nothing to do with the music piece of it. You kind of dropped a big nugget. I guess people in Tupelo maybe knew this. You talked about the acquisition of another parcel there just south of Fair Park in downtown and plans for future development. Do you know yet what that future development use looks like? Is that for commercial, or is that more for recreation?
It's going to be a mixed use, just like Fair Park. It's going to be some commercial with housing above some of the commercial, and then some single family homes and townhomes in the back of it. Fair Park was a good example. We had 25 lots available for purchase. As far as residential, they've all been sold. They've almost all been built on. That was the last phase. So it gives us a measuring stick to go to the public and say, hey, this is what we want to continue to do downtown. The way we acquired that property, Richard, we owned part of the old Daybright Lighting building since 1964. We were getting only $800 a year lease off of that. So when we went into a new lease with someone that purchased the property, I knew he had part of the downtown area. So I just asked him, I said, is there anything you'd like to trade? Or is there anything you have you'd like to trade for this property? And he said, well, I have that 17 acres. So we traded a $800 a year lease for 17 acres here in downtown Tupelo. It's a win-win for both of us.
Yeah, as somebody who was in the real estate profession for a long time, you didn't come across enough deals like that, did you?
Not for me. Now, I may have found them for somebody else, but I never had deals like that.
I understand that. Just sticking with the real estate conversation for a second, we know that nationally, affordable housing is a significant issue. I live in Oxford. Affordable housing is a significant issue. What about the housing market in Tupelo in terms of people that are moving in? You talked a little while ago about the difference in the actual population and the daytime population. Those are dramatically different, but as people are moving in for jobs, what are the opportunities that are available for them on the housing front?
Well, I think, a lot of it comes through our medical center. They have a big need for residents. They are investing in a $25 million project around the hospital for mixed use. They will have about 98 apartments, some single family homes, some commercial clinics, and some townhomes to help with those residents. And that's what we would like. We want those residents to get to Tupelo, like Tupelo, stay here and raise their families. So the hospital has a big need for housing, and those will be, market rate rent for those residents, which will be wonderful. But also, I think every thriving community is going to have an issue with affordable housing, because what's happened through the years is, you get these older neighborhoods where the residents start going to nursing homes, or they start dying out, and the children either live somewhere else or don't want to fool it, so they sell it to investors. Well, a lot of times those investors turn them into either government housing or low-income rental, and that just kills a neighborhood, Richard. So we've gone into some of these neighborhoods. We have a neighborhood development corporation that was established several years ago, and they're going into specific neighborhoods, buying up homes, putting deed restrictions on that they can never be rentals, and rehabbing these areas and turn them back over to homeowners. So we've done the West Jackson Street project, was the first one. We're in Park Hill now, buying up property, which is a transition between our higher income and lower income area, and it's just right for redevelopment. So we're fortunate we developed that several years ago, so they can go in some of these neighborhoods and turn them around. And if anybody ever is on West Jackson Street, Tupelo, they can see that project. And again, it's a measuring stick for us to go to the public and say, this is what we want to do in another area. And when you drive through there, the transformation that's happened in the last 15 years is unbelievable.
That neighborhood corporation, is that a private entity, or is that something that the city has an ownership stake in, or the city owns wholly? How does that work?
So what it is, it's a nonprofit that was developed, and the city, to get them started in a neighborhood, puts money in that corporation through our CDF, Community Development Foundation, because it is nonprofit, and it's a certain amount to start buying properties, but then when they start selling them, that money goes back into the neighborhood development corporation to continue doing houses in those areas.
Is that a unique setup, or is that happening in other places too?
I can't speak on that, Richard. I'm not sure. If it's not, it should be, because that kind of gives a separation between the city and the neighborhood corporation. We don't have to go in and buy the properties and rehab them ourselves. We have an entity that does that for us. And hey, next time you're up here, Richard, I would like to ride around with you and kind of show you what we've done over the last several years and what we're doing. That will give you a good indication on if you're in any other city or asking, you get a little more information.
Yeah. I'd love to see it. And can I bring my golf clubs when I come?
Come on. Well, now, I got to warn you, I'd be glad to play with you, but you'll be pretty disappointed in my athletic ability on the golf course.
Well, I've seen your athletic ability on display. It was a while back, but it certainly is in there. Visiting with Todd Jordan, mayor of the of Tupelo, Mississippi. Only a couple of minutes left. I want to hit on Tupelo High School for a second. I'm old enough to remember when the high school was constructed, and I grew up in Oxford. We talked about that a second ago, and you saw that facility, and you're like, what is that? I mean, it's massive and it's huge, and it was sparkling new, and the gym and the football stadium and everything. And you can correct me on this if I'm wrong, but I feel like there was a period after, I don't know, maybe a decade and a half or so of the high school being there where things dropped off a little bit. And it felt like maybe it was not moving in exactly the right direction. But for the last decade or so, it feels like Tupelo High School is a rocket ship in terms of athletics and facility upgrades and academics and things that are happening there. Is that a fair characterization, or am I off base on that?
I don't think there's any question. And it comes down to leadership, Richard. I mean, we have gone through several superintendents that may not have fit what the Tupelo mold to kind of keep moving forward. They just kind of wanted to keep things stagnant. The last couple, especially Dr. Piku, the last 4 or 5 years, has really come in with an open mind and said, look, we want to make things better. And 3 straight years we've had an A rating in the Tupelo School District. We've got the largest high school in the state, but it comes with a cost. I mean, you have to keep your facilities upgraded. You have to keep adding on. And if you look at the high school now, we need to add on some more. We need more facility. We could use another PAC center. We could use another this. So we're looking at acquiring property around the high school now, just 1, to protect our investment, and for 2, for future expansion.
Final thing for you. I mentioned a second ago, we've seen some really big economic development projects happening at the state level. It feels like the governor is announcing a new one almost weekly. Those are going to different parts of the state. We've seen stuff on the coast. We've seen stuff in Madison County. We've seen stuff in Marshall County. Tupelo and Lee County working together. I think about some of the areas outside Tupelo, and I see land that is there that could be used. Is Tupelo in the market for one of these big development projects that we're seeing happen at the state level?
Well, last fall we announced the Lee Bear project. Lee Bear is a German company. The first initial investment is about $325 million out at the Hive. Now, the Hive is a new industrial park right outside the city on Highway 6, but it's in the Tupelo Public School District. So the county, city, school district did a development agreement. I look for more developments like that and an expansion to Lee Bear in some time. So that's a great development. Average pay will be about $79,000 a year.
Outstanding. A lot of good things happening in Tupelo. Todd Jordan, the mayor, I appreciate your time. Always enjoy the visits and look forward to seeing with my own eyes some of this development that you're talking about.
Thank you, Richard. I appreciate y'all having me on this morning.
Absolutely. Wish you and your family and all the folks in Tupelo a happy 4th of July, and we'll talk soon. Todd Jordan, mayor of Tupelo, on Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi. Half an hour left with you. We're back on the other side of this timeout.